Today in r/malicious compliance. The delayed prestigious event. I post this here although it is content, wise somewhere between malicious compliance and revenge. This story dates a couple of years back and is set in Germany. Obviously, the names have been changed to not bully anyone. Also, this is a secondary account, so it won't come back to haunt me. I am not a native English speaker, so I am sorry for any grammar errors or weird wording. The protagonists. Me, an IT worker in a medium-sized company. Lars, my direct boss. Not an IT person, but a great guy all round, manages technical backend. Karen from her, a stickler to the rules and a true bureaucrat at heart. Lara, event organizer, tasked to make this event go as smooth as possible. Michael, co of the company. Only met him while this happened, usually the head office. The environment. This story is set inside a medium-sized company in Germany. We are not a technical company but have many international customers. I am responsible for the in-house services at a small-town site, with the site manager Lars being my direct boss. This site only has a secretary, and her is managed by the central head office. As I work in it, working time usually is handled lenient. You can work on any workday between 7 and 8 p.m. Just not more than 12 hours a day and have get your 40 hours in every week with some overflow allowed. But you are not allowed to work outside these hours or on weekends unless you get a written permit from a central board. The first incident. You all know that when something happens in it, you sometimes have to react. So the day comes and I get the call on a weekend that an important system has gone down. I realize that it is no big deal, so I cancel my plans and go in on a Saturday evening. Nothing fancy planned. The whole problem is rather easy to fix. I switch to the reserve server, load config files, reload the backups, and everything is back up and running in 2 hours. The following week I have to do it all again, because the spare hardware used in a pinch was not powerful enough. The fallout. So during the next week the shit really starts to hit the fan. First, I get some bullcrap from the supply office for using the spare server. It is supposed to be always in reserve if a core system goes down. What just happened on the weekend? And the person using it has to immediately order a replacement. I told them that couldn't do it because none of these guys were when it was urgently needed, and the replacement order was with them on Monday. We talk a bit workshop, and he laws it off telling me he had to remark it because official guidelines and to be more careful next time. Next is her. I got the notice from a Karen that the Saturday repair was not covered by any written permit, that I should have gotten at least a week ahead of time. She doesn't understand a thing about it, but tells me that I always need to have a written permit, or it will have direct consequences. I will not get paid for that time, and I am get pointed for being in when I'm not allowed to. It even goes so far that if this happens again, my contract is in danger. I get all this in writing. Important later. From now on, I always check my times there, but luckily, the next 3 months no important system goes down the weekend. The setup. Our company is hosting a big event at a nice local location, a week long, from 8 Monday till Friday, international meeting with 90% external guests and lots of prestige. There is a small team in company set up and managed by the event organizer Lara. I am informed by my boss Lars that I need to set up it. We go to the location and find out that there is only a closed network available, so we have to provide our own it. I order the necessary access points to provide Wi-Fi network, a decent projector, etc. Nice to work with a great budget. It all arrives 2 weeks before the conference. In the week before the conference, I start setting up. Monday, I configure the apps and make sure all the hardware is fully operational. Tuesday, I arrive on the event location and find it occupied. Asking my event liaison, I find out the location is booked only for the following week. So I spend half a day tracking down the person responsible for the venue and get told it is booked till Friday midday. I go to my boss Lars and tell him that I can't set up because it is occupied. He is furious about this oversight, but accepts that it is not my business to make sure the venue is booked correctly. The whole matter is escalated, and by the end of the day we get the permit to start setting up on Friday afternoon. Wednesday comes, and I tell my boss Lars that half a day won't be enough to set up projector, recording, streaming, sign-in station, and Wi-Fi. I told him that I expected it to be 4 days of work, but that I am willing to work through the weekend to get at least all the important stuff done till Monday. He agrees, and I file for special permit to work overtime on the weekend. He even attaches a note on how important this is, and it is rushed to her. I spend the rest of the day going through the network planning, going home a bit early, knowing that the next days will be stressful. Thursday, I start to prep as good as I can, configure every firmware, do a dry run of the setup on my desk, make sure all the cables are available and boxed up in a nice set for each task. This at least should be saving a bit time when setting up. Friday morning, I still haven't received my written permit from her yet, so I decide to give them a call. After a while, I get a hold of the Karen responsible for my file there, and she informs me that my application for overtime arrived after this week's her board meeting and thus couldn't be granted. Condescending, she informs me that I should have to apply it at least a week earlier. I go to the event organizer Lara and tell her that I didn't get the permit for overtime and I will have to leave everything this evening unfinished. I can see the color of her face changing from normal to white to red, and she promises to follow up. She will contact her directly and clarify things. At 2 in the afternoon, the venue is finally available, and I get started. Most reasonable is to get started with the projector and presentation system, because without no presentations and thus no event, it takes me about 3 hours to set it up, running cables so they are not a hazard, etc. So the presenters can use either the system or a laptop, and the picture is open. The Lara comes by and asks how I am doing. We chat a bit as I introduce the system. She tells me that Karen handling my application is not in this afternoon, so there is still no written permit. After we decide to run the main fiber line for internet next, she is of organized something for the breaks catering. I run the fiber for the internet and at least confirm that it is active at 7. I catch Lara again and ask her about the permit. No one in her was in all Friday afternoon, so it is still not there. The compliance revenge. Here comes my malicious compliance and revenge into place. I lock away all the valuable hardware as custom and am ready to leave just before the 20:00 deadline. Lara asks me what the next steps will be and when it will be ready, and I have to tell her I will start again on Monday, but it won't be finished by 8 a.m. then when the event starts. She is speechless as I leave. During my weekend, I relax and turn my work phone on. I see a flood of work emails coming in, but hey, if I am not allowed to work on weekends, I also don't need to check these. The event. Monday 7, the earliest I am allowed to work again according to her. I show up. It is pandemonium. It's still the same as I left it on Friday. A completely disarranged Laura asks me, begging how long it takes to set up the signing station, because the first guests will arrive in half an hour and need to be registered. I get to work setting it up as fast as I can, but it still takes till nearly 9 till all the credentials are loaded and the digital sign-in can start. All the while I hear mumbling that the Wi-Fi isn't working. No surprise, the access points are not installed at all, not even the wires run. Lara cleverly organized a second breakfast for the waiting guests and excuses all the time for the technical difficulties. At 9 and the event can finally start. There is still no Wi-Fi. There is no internet for the online presentations, and there is no streaming. I can't continue to set up since this would mean me running around with a ladder during the introductory presentation. So I also grab a second breakfast and wait. Shortly before the delayed 10:30 coffee break, Lara, Lars, and even the crew Michael come up to me and ask me what is the holdup. Michael is enraged that this state is embarrassing the whole company in front of all their international partners. No Wi-Fi for them and no stream online for the overseas partners. I tell him that Karen explicitly forbid me to work on weekends without the written permit and even show the write-up from earlier. See the fallout. Giving up, he just asks, but I need to get it all done as fast as possible. I even get a small note just saying Mr. Op is permitted to work as much overtime as needed and is permitted to acquire all resources he deems necessary, signed Michael Co. and co-signed by the head of her. The solution. We end up hiring some Sparkies, electricians, to run the cables, and I work all night till nearly the next morning to get it all operational by the second day. The rest of the event was a full success, and everyone was happy with it besides the first day. As the cherry on top, Karen is no longer her manager. I also have the direct phone number, even private mobile, to the local head of her and can request overtime in a non-written form at any time. Sometimes it pays off to play exactly by the rules, even if they make no sense. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, smash the bell, and whatever else our YouTube overlords require nowadays.